Hi guys, I am recording now from our new Maui home, and I cannot even begin to tell you how much I feel like we are home, like we have arrived. And you know, it's funny because like leading up to our arrival, I would like kind of think sometimes like, okay, what if, you know, the 5 months of traveling and we finally get to Maui and then like both of us died. There was a time where I thought, man, I would be happy to just die like that, you know? But I don't feel like that. I just feel like even though we have arrived, even though this isn't the final destination in terms of like why we're here, you know, as we're settling in and getting into the hang of things, I'm on fire to do what God has brought us here to do. And I feel like I have so much to tell you guys, and I don't want to get so overwhelmed, you know, in my own head. So I thought today I would just get ready and just kind of share the story of how we found the home that we're living in. And it's been one of the most asked questions during our transition. Like during the 5 months we were on the go and staying with friends and family and people we've met along the way. So many people have asked us like, oh, so do you guys already have jobs out there, or did you pick a place already? Like, where's all your stuff? And you know, if you guys have been watching my morning chats for a while, you know that the bulk of our stuff, we got it packed up in Korea by a moving company, and it's been in transit. So earlier this week, all of our stuff, I think, just left Long Beach, or yeah, anyway, so it recently arrived on Maui, so we'll be getting the bulk of that stuff soon. And then everything else, we've been traveling with 2 large suitcases, 2 carry-ons, and like 2 backpacks. And then towards the tail end of our trip, we accumulated like a big box of like extra stuff. But yeah, I thought I would share with you the story of how we found our home. And before I even get into that, like, there is one person that has been so instrumental in this entire house hunting thing, and she's gonna be a main character in this story. So I thought I would introduce her to you first. So her name is MIII, and if you guys are you know, a green beauty junkie, or if you're a Beauty Heroes member, or you're just interested in Beauty Heroes or the green beauty world, very likely you are familiar with MIII. And MIII also has a YouTube channel and an Instagram. I'll leave links down to both below. Okay, so I know I've mentioned MIII before in one of my videos because she also reviews Beauty Heroes, and she's a new Beauty Heroes ambassador as well. So I know I've mentioned this before when I talked about MIII, and what I love about her channel is that even though she and I could be reviewing the same exact product, I love the angle in which she presents the products with, like, she has like a very vast knowledge of all the ingredients and like chemistry and all the science stuff. And I think I've either said it on my channel or, you know, maybe a comment to her, but it's like, man, I would have loved to have her as my science teacher growing up. And she's great. She's really informative. I think she has like puts her own little spin in her videos and how she presents information. So definitely check her out if you really want to look into like the ingredients and formulations of products. She even teaches you how to make your own masks, so that you know, you might not want to pay like a high price tag for like a name brand one or a high-end mask, and then she'll even go through the ingredients and teach you how to make it yourself. Or in some cases she might tell you that it's actually cheaper to just go out and buy the mask that's already formulated versus doing it at home. So she just covers a variety of that kind of stuff. Anyway, so MIII, she's a huge character in this story. I'm just gonna start putting on my foundation because, you know, I can get started and then just completely go into my storytelling wormhole and just forget to do this. And sometimes, you know, I like talk with concealer still on my face and not blend it in. You guys may or may not remember, but in September 2016, that's the first time Brandon and I came out to Maui, right? We were here on vacation, the 2 of us, and we met my sister and her boyfriend here. And we were here for about 10 days. And when I got back from that trip, I sat down to film a morning chat. I remember I was wearing my red Tabasco t-shirt, and I was talking about how like I would love to move here one day. And it was still like a baby seed of an idea. And I remember talking about that, and I don't know how Marie found my channel. I need to ask her. But I remember, I forget if it was a comment or she messaged me, but basically she was like, hey, you know, I live on Maui, and if you are really considering a move out here, like, please let me know. I'd love to help you. And just from the get-go, I just thought, wow, what a kind stranger. Because prior to that, I hadn't, we never interacted before on the internet. So I just thought, wow, that's really nice. And, you know, at that time, it was seriously just like a dream that I had to live there. So it was kind of like, thank you for the offer. And if it really happens, like, I'll be in touch. But yeah, it didn't, how do I say this? It wasn't like something that I was, you know, realistically considering, right? Like in terms of asking this complete stranger for help. So anyway, we've been, you know, talking here and there, like mostly through like the comment section. I've been watching her videos and like, you know, started following her on Instagram. And then August 2017, that's when Brandon and I sat down and like officially announced on YouTube that we were moving to Maui. And since then, like, she has been so amazing. Just keeping in touch with me, making sure if there's anything she can do on her end here, that, you know, if I needed to use her as a reference here, that we could, and just always like offering. That was August. And even like after we left Korea, like December, I remember at some point Marie texted me and she was like, hey, I just want to check to make sure that you guys are still on your way here. And it's not just Marie. I've had other people tell us, like, I bet there could be a chance where, you know, during your months of traveling, maybe, you know, you'll visit a state and you'll feel at home and you won't actually get to Maui, but just be open, right? But for me, it was like, no, Maui has to be my last destination, my final destination. And so I'm talking to Marie and, you know, she was checking in. I was like, nope, don't worry, we're coming. I'll be there, you know, with or without Brandon, I'm coming. You know, I won't get into too much detail about like everything that was going on during us traveling. Maybe that'll be for a different video. But I have to be honest with you, like, there was so much self-coaching going on throughout this process. And just in a nutshell, like, Brandon and I, we are not meant to be traveling that long. Like, unless, you know, we had a home base and like, you know, we don't mind taking like a month-long vacation or whatever, but just being unemployed, homeless, and living out of suitcases, like on the road, like, that is just not our personalities. And it was a great experience and really cool, like, learning, like, things we picked up about ourselves on a deeper level. But yeah, like, there were so many mornings where I would just wake up, just my heart so heavy with anxiety, because, you know, we were getting emails from our moving company being like, hey, we need an address from you, like, where are we going to ship all your stuff to? And I'm like, oh my gosh, we don't have a home, and we can't find a home until we get there, because I don't want to sign a lease without, you know, stepping foot into a place and meeting the landlord and everything, right? And then just, you know, we put a huge pin on our business building while we were traveling. It was just too tough for me to try to launch something, you know, while I'm trying to spend time with my family and friends and, you know, trying to be present in that. So the whole business thing is, you know, still not fully figured out. We didn't have a home. There were just too many things up in the air. And every morning I really had to coach myself. I had to journal, I had to pray, and just do a mix of these things. And some nights I just had a really tough time sleeping. And some mornings where I just like couldn't get out of bed. It wasn't like a full-blown panic attack or anything, but definitely when we entered the month of April, I was really struggling. I was itching to, you know, get here already and check into an Airbnb and start house hunting. So beginning of April, I'm going through all of this, and at this point, I forgot when I started, but sometime this year, 2018, I signed up for Zillow because I wanted to, you know, just kind of see what our options were and, you know, looking for apartments or condos in our price range. And then I would start getting like daily emails from Zillow, and it would give us like recommendations for, you know, here are like apartments in the area that you're searching for. And like in the mornings I'd wake up and I'll scroll through and either think, okay, this apartment's like not up to my standards, or it's out of our price range, and, you know, just kind of doing the quick browsing thing. And I would say it wasn't until April that I was constantly on it, almost like a comfort thing, to know that like, hey, I don't have a house, but I'm doing something about it. And I just wanted to see my options, right? Versus, you know, I'll figure it out when we get there, because yeah, it was too close to home now. And so I'm on Zillow and I'm asking MIII questions here and there about what areas I should be looking into, because there was one area that was my dream. Like, if I could live in that neighborhood, like, that would be perfect. And that was the neighborhood, you know, that I stayed in when I was here in 2016 with my sister and her boyfriend and Brandon. So I'm talking to MIII and she's giving me, you know, insight on certain neighborhoods. And I actually did come across a few apartments and condos that were bigger than the place that we live now. And like, some of them even had 2 bedrooms and 2 baths, which was like an ideal situation. So there was one area that I was considering that's actually not too far from here. I started making appointments with rental property managers, like on Zillow, to come check this place out. And what Brandon and I were planning to do was, okay, let's just get here at the end of April and we'll check into an Airbnb for like a month. And we'll just take our time, like car shopping, you know, looking for a house and all of that. But it was in April where I was trying to book Airbnbs and hotels. Oh my gosh, it is so expensive here. Like, you would think Airbnbs are like significantly cheaper than some of the nicer hotels here, but no, like some of these Airbnbs, or most of these Airbnbs, you might as well stay at a 4-star hotel, right? And the places we were looking into, which weren't even like that high end, rent or like the price of an Airbnb or hotel for a week would have cost us over $1,000. So yeah, Airbnbs. We wanted a place to just have our stuff while, you know, we take care of basic things like going to the DMV and, you know, trying to switch out our Korean licenses to Hawaiian licenses, which didn't happen, and that's a whole different video. One of the things we should have done is we should have gotten an international driver's license before we left Korea. That would have saved us a lot of trouble. So hunting on Zillow, looking for an Airbnb, those are like high on my priorities list. I don't think Brandon was as stressed out as I was, to be honest. So a lot of times, like, he'd be out hanging out and I would need to be in a room by myself, just taking care of things or looking into my options. Okay, so I'm talking to MIII and I'm telling her that I'm searching on Zillow. And again, this is in April, right? So we're really close to our arrival here. Our ticket to Maui has been booked already, by the way. So I'm talking to MIII and she messages me randomly. Like, I remember it was like sometime in the afternoon. We were in California. And she was like, hey, are you by a computer? I really want you to see this house that I found on Craigslist, which is nuts because, one, I'm coming from Korea where there isn't, like, Craigslist isn't a widely used platform. And if anything, like, if you wanted to sell stuff or buy things, like, Facebook groups were the way to go. So I wasn't super familiar with Craigslist, and I've kind of always heard horror stories about like weird things happening there. So I'm not an experienced Craigslist user, and I wasn't even considering that as an option when I was house hunting on Maui. So MIII texts me and she sends me this listing on Craigslist, and I look at it. It's a fully furnished place, which also Brandon and I were not thinking. Like, we wanted to move into an unfurnished place and kind of, you know, decorate it and put it together ourselves. But MIII had some really good points when she showed us this house. So one thing that she said was, you know, you could find a bigger, more affordable condo, but there's this one area I was looking at where she was saying that the condos are so close to each other that sometimes, like, you can really hear your neighbors. And especially if I'm gonna be working and filming from home, that might be something that could be, you know, an annoyance that I didn't even think about. So she told me to consider that. The other thing is, Zillow postings, they post like a certain amount, right, for the rent, but then there's also the electricity bills, water bills, garbage, and all these other bills that are not accounted for in that price. So that was another thing she told us to consider. Another really important one was, hey, like, I know that when you get here, if you don't have your driver's license, or it might be tough to kind of set up your, you know, internet, gas, electricity, and all of that. So here is a perk of like moving into a furnished house where all the basics are taken care of, and then you and Brandon can go figure out all the other stuff. So, you know, she really thought this out for us, and I looked at this place. I look at this Craigslist posting and the photos, and it was just beautiful. Like, exceeded my expectations, right? And I scroll down and I call the number on this posting, and I'm talking to the landlord. What did he say? Like, he picked up my phone call right away, and I told him like, hey, it's the beginning of April. My husband and I are flying to Maui on April 30th. Can we book an appointment to check out your house on May 1st? The first thing he said to me was, you know, I'm not trying to rush you, but in my 16 years of renting this place isn't going to be around for that much longer. Like, it's going to get swept up. So if you have a friend on the island that can come and see the place for you, so you can sign, you know, a lease electronically, or, you know, we could FaceTime or Skype and I can show you the place. But I don't think this place is going to be available if we wait till May 1st. And, you know, that was really tough for me, because one of the principles I was like really standing on was I'm not going to sign a lease without seeing the place. So I'm like, all right. And I talked to him, and, you know, he seems like a really nice guy. He was really informative. So we hang up, and I text Marie, and I was like, hey, I just spoke to the landlord. And I'm definitely paraphrasing here, but this is how our conversation went. So I tell Marie, hey, I just spoke to the landlord, and he doesn't think, you know, this place is going to be around, you know, if I don't like sign for it right away. And without my asking, I swear, she was like, when do you need me to go look at this house for you? Like, I can go today. And I was like, you're kidding me. She's like, yeah, you know, my kids and I were always up for an adventure. I'll go check this place out. Do you want me to call him? So I'm like, oh my gosh. And the thing is, the day before this all happened, this was like April 8th or something, but the day before this happened, I was telling Brandon that like, hey, my friend Marie, my internet friend Marie, offered to check places out for us, or she'll like keep an eye out. And I was like, okay, but I'm not gonna actually take her up on the offer. Like, I don't want her to go to places and like figure out stuff for us. That's like too much of it's a big ask. And the very next day, she offers to see this place, and it was just so nice that I couldn't pass it up. And I was just like, if you could do that for me, that would be amazing. So she comes here, she checks this place out, and several hours later, I get an email from the landlord. And what he said was, he was like, hey, I just met Marie and her 2 beautiful children. She's wonderful. And if Marie is your reference, this place is yours. Something like that. Those aren't his exact words, but I was like, you're kidding me, right? So he said this, and of course it wasn't like a full 100% it's ours. There's still like formalities we had to go through. So I'm talking to Marie, and she was like, hey, I took some pictures. I'll send it to you in a little bit. And I got her pictures, and okay, let me just tell you about Marie. One, she knows me pretty well based on my videos, so she knows what I'm looking for, right, in terms of cleanliness and my standards. So she was like, she sent me pictures of the floors, the corners, the bathroom tiles, and she's like, look, there's no mold or mildew. And apparently that's like a huge issue, especially, you know, island living. So she's like, this place is in tip-top shape. This landlord is very refined, very meticulous and manicured, and he just takes such beautiful care of this place. You've got like 11-foot windows. These are the most beautiful windows I've ever lived with. What else? She drew me a map key of this house. She's like, here's the kitchen, the dining room. She like labeled everything. She pointed out where all the storage spaces are, and she even like wrote little like captions like, hey Jen, this would be a perfect place to store all your Green Beauty skincare. And I just freaked out, like everything short of crying my eyes out. She draws me this map key. She takes pictures of this neighborhood and the drive up to this neighborhood. So she's like, here, look, here's where, you know, this is where the beach is, and this is the street leading up to your house, and it's just this like beautiful neighborhood. It's quiet. There's a school nearby, and yeah, so she sends me this really informative email. Brandon was like, let's just do it. Let's just sign the lease. yeah, so we proceeded with the landlord. So here's the thing, like we got the yes from him because he really loved Marie. But the two things he wanted from us, and this is how I know it's such a God thing. Two things he wanted from us. One was he wanted a credit report. And the second thing he wanted from us was a reference, our previous landlords. And I feel like these two things would have just shut the door for us right away. Because one, Brandon and I, we don't have credit cards. We haven't lived in America together, so we were afraid that either we were gonna have no credit history or like a low credit score. So we're like, oh man. And then the second thing was, okay, our landlords in Korea, they're Korean and they don't speak English. So like, I don't even know how this landlord and our old landlord would communicate. So, I was trying not to get my hopes up too much for this place. Brandon just had this idea where he was like, babe, send him your video of the apartment tour that you filmed in our Gangnam apartment. And I thought, oh my gosh, like how cool is it that I even had something like that to offer, right? Because based on like the description of this place and based on my conversation with him and what Marie told me about him, he has like a very, very high standard for cleanliness and orderliness. So it just made perfect sense that if I were to show him my apartment tour video, if I were to link it to him, then he can kind of see the way that I keep house and hopefully it would, he would be pleased with it, right? And so I send this video over to him. What else? The credit report thing, I did it, Brandon and I pulled it up and I even told him, I was like, hey, like we might not have a credit score or like it might be a bad score. I don't know. It's just we don't have credit cards. We don't have history renting in the States. And so he seemed like he wasn't going to be a huge stickler about that. He just kind of said, this is a formality and I want to do it, but it's not going to be like a hard no if that is the case. By the way, it's really hard to tell this story and to do my makeup at the same time. So I send over my apartment tour video. He loved it. And he made little comments too about like, I guess the way that I organize things. And I guess he picked up the fact that like I, care about being sustainable somewhat and like the green beauty products or whatever. But he made mention of how, his house is like as green as it gets in Maui because it's largely or mostly solar powered. He's got like a really high-end like water filtration system here, so we don't even need to go out and buy bottled water. We can just like drink right out of the tap. And because his house is powered by solar energy, I might butcher the retelling of this, but he's able to, so the cool thing about the rent that we're paying here, it's basically inclusive of the electricity, the internet, like everything. So basically we have one fixed rate that we are paying every month, which is insane, right? It's not a guessing game every month. We know exactly how much we're paying. That was another blessing. Oh, the other really cool thing that Marie pointed out was this neighborhood that we're in, like the rules of this community is that no short-term rentals are allowed, meaning no one's allowed to Airbnb their house. And so it's a very quiet neighborhood because, one of the things that was brought to my attention is, hey, you could be going to sleep on a Tuesday night and there could be like a party, a really loud party next door because, people are vacationing here. But this community is very special because they have an agreement that no short-term rentals are allowed. And we are so close to the beach, so there's like a lot of condo rentals, vacation rentals around us, but we're kind of almost in like our own little bubble here in a way. And you guys, you might have guessed it already, but we are living in the exact neighborhood that I wanted to live in. We are around the corner from the beach where Brandon and I were swimming in that one morning where no one else was in the water. And I just had it on my heart that I really want to live here one day, but I don't know if Brandon would be open to it because I couldn't see him leaving Reebok for a while. And then he read my mind and he made mention of us moving to Maui, and it was that beach that is just down the street from here. And across the street from that beach is the condo where, you know, I stayed with my sister and Joe and Brandon, and it's just come full circle. Like, I just have chills seeing that. And I can't even tell you, I can't even explain. It's God. Like, everything that's happened, I have no doubt in my mind that we're supposed to be here right now. The other crazy thing was, before our arrival on Maui, MIII had texted me and she asked if we needed a ride, if we needed to get picked up from the airport. And we did. We needed a ride, but I was a little bit concerned because of all the stuff that we had. And so, you know, she offered, but at the last minute, she wasn't able to, which was fine with us. It was so gracious that she offered. But that morning, like, we land at noon on April 30th. And as soon as we landed on Maui, I turned on my phone, you know, getting ready to call an Uber or like checking prices for Uber and Lyft. But I get a text from MIII and she was like, here's the craziest story. I am at the airport. I'm waiting for you guys. So as soon as you land, like, text me. And then I call her, and what she says is, she's like, Jen, my husband never takes half days. But for whatever reason, he took a half day today. He didn't even tell me about it. So he just randomly came home like 30 minutes before our flight landed. And she was like, what are you doing here? And, you know, he said he took a half day. So she like grabbed her keys and she went straight to the airport. And she was there by baggage claim. She had 2 leis in her hand and a cart. You know those cart that you use to transport luggage? Well, in JFK, you have to pay like $7 or $8 to rent that thing. But for whatever reason, I don't know how much it is in Hawaii, but she was like, yeah, I just found the random cart that nobody was using. So she had that, the 2 leis, and she was waiting for us at baggage claim. And we landed and we're walking to baggage claim, and I'd never met MIII in person, so I'm like nervous about meeting her too. And I see her and she's just like tan and smiles and flowy long hair, and she puts these 2 like beautifully smelling leis on us, these fresh leis, and Brandon and I had never gotten laid before. So we're like in our, you know, jackets and sweatpants because we're coming from like the Bay Area, which it was cold. And, you know, she's putting on these flowers and just helping us load the car and helping us drop our stuff off at the Airbnb, and then driving us to the DMV so we can figure out our licenses. And if there was ever an angel in human form, it's MIII. I just don't have words. It's I just wanted to catch you up on that. I'm slowly trying to get back into the groove of things, but I wanted to start there because I know many of you are wondering how we found our home and how we're doing. As soon as I'm done with this, I'm gonna edit this video and post it for you guys. And I've also kicked Brandon out of the house. Well, not really, he wanted to go work at a coffee shop, but yeah, he's out working at a local coffee shop while I film this. So once I call him, he's gonna bring me back some like coconut latte thing. Or coconut, it's either coconut latte or like a macadamia nut latte. Yeah, so let me know if you guys have any questions regarding, you know, our transition to Maui or whatever, and maybe I'll like choose a topic and answer it in next week's morning chat. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm obsessed with these. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.